Welcome, everyone. Today, my guest is Tracey Velt, Senior Director of Content and Data, to talk about our broker and agent pulse surveys and what they show on each group's outlook on the housing market, their AI adoption, and the biggest challenges they're facing.
We may have just gotten back from Gathering of Eagles, but we're not done with events for 2023 yet. This October, we're headed right back to Austin, Texas for HousingWire Annual, and we want to see you there. We've got a power-packed agenda with content such as our Women of Influence speakers, peak performer playbooks, CEO playbooks, and more to propel your company forward, as well as a bunch of networking events. Because this event is open to real estate executives, mortgage, title, and everyone in between, you really have the opportunity to network with people from all across the housing ecosystem. If you want to learn more about the event, or if you're already ready to get registered, head over to housingwire.com on the events tab and you can learn all about it. Not to mention, if you're an HW Plus member, you're going to get 50% off your ticket. So get registered for HW Plus and get registered for the event so we can see you out in Austin.
Tracey, welcome back to the podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Really excited to have you on today, wanting to talk about what you found on your agent pulse survey and your broker pulse survey, especially on AI and what agents and real estate brokers are using AI for right now.
Sure. So we have quarterly sentiment surveys that are forward looking. So this Q3 survey was sent out in Q2 looking forward to what they expect to be happening in Q3 2023. And basically, we have one just for agents and one for brokers, Broker Pulse and Agent Pulse. And I ask very similar questions on them about the market, where they think interest rates are going, home prices are going. The first thing before we get into AI is that they were overwhelmingly fairly optimistic, both brokers and agents, about the market going forward. They were, 41% were optimistic for brokers and 40 were neutral, but that is up from last quarter where I think it was about 30 something. So that was really interesting, that they're feeling a little bit better. Maybe it's that buyers and sellers are adjusting to interest rates. I'm sure Logan and Mike have some thoughts on that one. But they and agents have always been on these surveys more optimistic about the market than brokers, which is also interesting. They're really both sets are feeling pretty neutral about where the market's going. They feel like it's going to be flat. So even though they're optimistic, they're not really, they don't have expectations of a booming market. But they also don't feel like it's going to just fall off a cliff either. So good to know that.
What do you think the disconnect is there? Why do you think agents are more optimistic than brokers?
Well, I think that possibly the agents who are filling out these surveys are some of the top agents in the country and have known for a long time that real estate is all about building relationships and staying in touch with your sphere of influence. It's not transactional, it's relational. We do send this out, and a big portion of our database are the top agents in our RealTrends rankings, which is the 1,000 and America's Best. So they are the most productive agents in the country. As far as brokers, I think they're seeing it more holistically from, seeing all of their agents holistically in what's going on. And with margin compression, any drop in the market is concerning for them. So they're juggling a lot more than agents are from a business perspective. So I think that's probably the reason you're seeing that.
That makes a lot of sense. I think of the brokers being very much more on bottom line type of people. Not that the agents aren't, but they have more to worry about, to your point.
Yeah.
You also found some diverging views on things like AI. What did you find
Yes.
there?
So it was interesting. I asked brokers if they're implementing AI or ChatGPT in their brokers, and the majority of them really said that they're exploring it. They're a little leery about it. They're not going to be quick to jump on it. In fact, we had a Colorado broker owner said, that's interesting, and we're trying to figure it out and kick it around. There are there are brokers who are comfortable with just using it in property descriptions and maybe implementing something like that. And then I actually interviewed Glenn Sanford of EXP, and he feels very strongly about using AI and ChatGPT and is already implementing it throughout the company and in their tech products for various marketing reasons. I also, from the agent side of things, they are certainly a lot more open to using AI and are already exploring it through ChatGPT with some interesting ways as well, not just listing descriptions or blog posts or posts on their sites. They're looking at it of drafting buyer personas, kind of calculating SEO keywords, video and audio editing, which I don't even know how to do that in ChatGPT. There must be some application that someone developed to do that. Several of them mentioned Compass has been an early adopter of that with their likely to sell feature in their CRM that they built, which uses AI to calculate the people in their database who are most likely to sell. There's also a lot of them who are using it for more informational types of posts. Why use a local agent, or what are the limits on conforming loans? And of course, they are also having to verify and fact check that, because AI obviously is a tool, but you can't rely on it blindly to write whatever you want it to write. The information might not be accurate. You need to make sure that you're organizing it in a way that doesn't violate fair housing or offer legal opinions that you're not qualified to offer. But it seems to be more marketing that the agents are using it for, and it seems to be more marketing that the brokers are looking at, but maybe not yet willing to implement.
Do you feel like that it is the compliance concerns that the brokers are worried about from a RESPA standpoint or fair housing, or that they see the dangers maybe more than your individual agent does?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they know that there have to be some checks and balances there, and it's already, agents are already branding themselves, doing their own marketing. It's a fact. In fact, I think I might have this up. So marketing dollars spent by brokerages are trending down according to our brokerage benchmarking data. And at this point in 2012, brokers were spending an average of 7.3% of their gross margin or company dollar on advertising and marketing related expenses. But that number has dropped to 2.1%, which is a 71% decline. And that is because they are putting those expenses and expectations on the agent. And because of that, the agent then is responsible for their own marketing, and thus taking on that responsibility of that liability, where they might not have the broker oversight for it. So yes, brokers are definitely looking at the legal and compliance considerations.
And I think that we are still in a very early stage of what that looks like. So for instance, if you use ChatGPT and it generates something that does have a fair housing, problem in it, and somebody publishes that on their site, are they responsible? Is there, the people who own, if they're part of a brokerage, is that responsible? Like, we really don't know what that looks like, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a consideration, and it's so easy to do as well. You might do a listing description, and it says, "Oh, this would be great for a family." Great
Right.
neighborhood for a family. Well, you can't say that, and especially with the amount of agents now, we are losing agents because of the market. So a lot of agents who were not very productive are dropping out. But when we've done studies in this Broker Pulse and Agent Pulse in the past, asking about how many of their agents, we asked brokers specifically, how many of their agents have been through a downturn, it was overwhelmingly, very few of them. So these are newer agents who may not have the experience to really, know what they don't know. And so there are considerations with that as well.
Boy, you can see that, and, again, I don't know that a lot of people are looking at specifically listings. Like, if you're an agent, I can see how you'd think, "That's an easy win. There what could go wrong there?" Just, like, feed it the
Yeah.
information, have it do a listing, but, I'm sure that you have to also tell it certain things about, don't violate this law and put in the law, and even then, you're going to have to look at it and say, yes, did that do it or not? And if the whole goal is to save time, I'm not sure. Maybe it is. If you have a ton of listings, it probably saves time. I know we use ChatGPT at HousingWire. We use it to rewrite press releases, and we feed it a press release. We say, rewrite this because it's a very closed system. Here's a set of facts that we've given it, and we want it to, summarize that. They're not plagiarizing because it's not plagiarizing because it's something that the companies have sent us, and we're transparent about the fact that that's what is, quote unquote, writing it. Plus we fact check it and we edit it. So we feel really confident in that, but that's the only very limited use we're using because right now we just don't think it's trustworthy yet.
Yeah, and I think that what you're going to find is you're going to find custom applications. And I think you're already seeing this. And in fact, I did a podcast today that won't air for 2 more weeks. I think it's the 31st, that it's a real trending podcast with a Compass agent, two Compass agents, who one of them built a listing chatbot using ChatGPT, and it's custom, so he has fed it and taught it to the fair housing laws, and he's also an attorney, legal and compliance, so that it's easier for you to go in and produce a listing description, or produce marketing materials, because it's built into that product. And so I think you're going to see more of that happening, where you're going to have custom products. And I think you're already seeing that, for example, his product. But I think you're already seeing that people aren't necessarily going to just go to ChatGPT. They're going to use an application specific to marketing real estate or listing descriptions that have been taught to pay attention to those laws.
That's very smart right now. I can see how that would free up your time to do that. Well, let's talk about some
Absolutely.
other things that you found in there. And one of the things that stuck out to me is one of the biggest challenges for the brokers is really making sure that, their agents are motivated. What were some of the findings on the biggest challenges right now?
Yeah, so they've been very, very similar over the past several quarters, as the market started to decline some. And when we during the boom market, the biggest challenge for brokers tended to be, other than low inventory, competing with the new business models, like the low fee models that are not charging. They're charging like a transaction fee or a fee to the agent, and giving them 100% of the commission. But that has actually gone down to, what is it, the sixth challenge. Right now it's increasing per agent productivity, and that is, and also keeping agents motivated. Obviously listings are not out there, they're not plentiful, and getting them can be very frustrating. You're going to see a lot of agents who are feeling frustrated, and also just overwhelmed with the idea of trying to find business. And so brokers are taking it upon themselves to really inspire and motivate and give them tools to help them do their jobs, and also working with them one on one and doing more coaching to help them increase their productivity. And one of the brokerages that actually does this really well and is Remax. They are kind of considered, they're they're not really low fee, but they're a 100% company. So they charge a fee to agents, and then they pay them 100% of the commission. However, traditionally in the RealTrends 500, when we look at agent productivity, the Remax offices are at the top. Some of that is because they hire experienced agents. They aren't known for hiring new agents and training them. They train experienced agents. But it's definitely a big challenge right now, is getting that coaching in place and helping them build their business plans and marketing to get those listings. The other one is reducing operational costs. And we had a panel at the Gathering of Eagles on this. We talked to CFOs from several different companies about what they're doing. Some of what they're doing, and this is a really big one, is a lot of brokerage owners kind of get they don't really know how many technology products and services they have, and if there's overlapping. And doing an audit of your technology stack and everything that you're offering could really help you save costs. But the biggest one, of course, is occupancy costs, and not being afraid to consolidate offices. Or one of them actually ended up, I can't remember how he did it, but he did get all of his leases for all of their offices to renew at the same time. And that way they knew it was easier to get out of an office because they kind of had an idea of where they were going with all of them. So occupancy costs are a big one. And with a lot of brokerages going virtual, or the success of like EXP and Real and that, brokers are looking at that more closely right now.
It reminds me of like our subscriptions, right? As individuals, consumers, like only on a much, larger scale of like your tech subscriptions or your vendors. And it is amazing to me how many, most brokerages have, most mortgage lenders. I mean, most business people, right? Like it's just an amazing amount of technology that you might not even know. Like, I mean, something as simple as like an Otter subscription or something that does transcription for you in our world, right? Like these are the type of things that you could easily lose track of. So I can imagine that operating expenses are top of mind.
Sure.
I think one of the other things that survey talks about is just mortgage rates. But I mean, there's nothing anybody can do about that. I think that's a frustrating one for everyone in mortgage
Yeah.
and real estate is like, yeah, mortgage rates are one of the biggest challenges.
And for agents, over half, 53%, felt like mortgage rates would be flat over the next 3 months. And I got to see what brokers said. I don't know. Okay, so it looks like I didn't put how many were flat, but 25% felt like they would go up this quarter. But last quarter, Q2, they predicted they would go up. 48% of them predicted interest rates would go up. So now we're down to 25% of them predicting that interest rates will go up, and 25% saying they will go down. So about half. It's about the same then as agents. Agents and brokers both feel like interest rates are really going to be flat. They're going to stay the same, which is interesting. And really, more of them felt like they would go down rather than go up, as opposed to last quarter, where they all felt like, a lot of them felt like it was just going up and that's it.
Well, and they were pretty right? I mean, they
Yep.
had they had good predictive skills there. We've been
Yeah.
tracking that obviously
Yeah.
very closely, and so maybe that's why they felt like it has gone up, and so it has to come down a little bit, and obviously that's our hope as well.
Yeah, yeah, and back to the challenges a little bit. It's interesting. So agents, that their third biggest challenge was interest rates, and for brokers, it was their fifth biggest challenge. And obviously, the reason is that brokers are dealing with, reducing operating costs and pressure on margins, and kind of keeping their agents motivated and producing. But for agents, by far, low inventory is their biggest challenge, and it has been for several quarters now. And then by default, getting listings then would be their second biggest, which is really tied with interest rates. So they're really focusing on getting those listings.
That makes total sense. And also, I was wondering, like, you and I have talked about teamerages, right? They're not really brokerages, but they're sort of like, groups of agents together that sometimes operate that way. Are they reflected in either one of these surveys, or is it self-selecting for them to decide what they are going to answer under?
They do get to self-select. We generally send the agent pulse to the teams who are in our survey. So with Agent Pulse, 29% of those who responded were team leaders. With Broker Pulse, I'm not sure. I don't have access to the data. For some reason, it wasn't letting me in. So I don't know how many team leaders were part of the Broker Pulse. I would guess it's probably a little less than that. It's probably mostly broker owners and C-level executives who are filling out Broker Pulse.
Well, Tracey, thanks so much for jumping on and walking us through what you found. It's very interesting to see, the difference between the two and just overall what they're thinking. So thanks for being on.
Yeah. And just to let your audience know too, we now have a lender pulse as well that we're sending to LOs. And that is on HousingWire.com, the Q3 lender pulse, which is our second one. So would love to have them go check that out as well.
Thanks so much, Tracey.